Today we had the privilege of hosting the Premier of Ontario on an announcement that is intended to strengthen the bail system here in Ontario. We know that many violent repeat offenders constantly receive the ability to get back out in the streets and harm the community. So anything that can be done to enhance the system is important. So one of the things is making sure they review the bail reform system, also that we seek ability to support victims of crimes that are being harmed in the community from a fee standpoint, as well as allowing the Crown attorneys and giving them the resources they need to do to strengthen bail reform. So the intensive serious violent offender bail Crown teams is also very helpful. So on behalf of policing, we're very appreciative of these changes and we look forward to seeing the outcomes.
Chief, we have seen that so many deaths or shootouts are happening in the Peel region also, and the government data says that 200 plus deaths per day by the use of illegal substance, opioid, opium, fentanyl. So how police is tackling that?
The fentanyl issue is a real serious one. It's obviously affecting communities east to west coast. So our efforts have been very focused on the enforcement, obviously at the street level, at the organized crime level. We operate a lot of joint forces operations. We know that the precursors and substances that go into fentanyl or opioids originate from outside of our country. They come in through our borders. And so the vulnerability we're seeing on the streets is not just about the enforcement of the criminals that are either involved with firearms, drug trafficking, but also getting upstream to prevent it coming into the country. So our efforts at a provincial and national level have been to make sure we invest in all those spaces and also encouraging, we see a lot in the US criticism about the Canadian border, but a lot of what comes into our country comes from South America through the US into here. Peel, we have a logistics industry that is the largest in Canada. We see the logistics system being exploited. We see young people being involved in it. So our efforts have been to enforce, lobby and advocate for strengthening everything.
So at government levels, what needs to be done to stop this mess because parents are losing their kids?
Yes, so I've had conversations with the commissioner of Kevin Brasseau, the fentanyl czar. We're discussing what needs to happen at the federal and provincial level to enhance it. We have submitted some recommendations on behalf of the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police to the federal government. Minister McGuinty, who's a public safety, as well as the federal attorney general on opportunities to strengthen it. And there are multifaceted recommendations. We are hopeful that the federal government will make some of these changes.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is an announcement, but I just wanted to highlight the reason we're here to talk about it is of a significant issue that is not just unique to Peel, but right across this province. First responders have been dealing with a small percentage of individuals that create the greatest harm to our community. And these are repeat violent offenders that are part of this cycle of crime that causes tremendous harm to our community. And we have seen changes and steps forward to improve this environment, but the need for serious change and reform continues to be on our doorstep. And here in Peel, we have anecdotal stories repeatedly of individuals that are out on bail that are back causing harm. And I would like to say that today is an important step forward in this change, not just on behalf of Peel, but all of the police chiefs in Ontario. We're absolutely appreciative of the efforts to make reform as it relates to violent repeat offenders in our community. Premier, and I just want to commend you and your government for putting the resources towards what's posing the greatest risk to our community. We in Peel, within the last month, one of our officers stopped an individual in a vehicle that had a loaded firearm, was already on release for charges of firearms, was sitting with their surety in the vehicle, and had an ankle monitor on it. And that is just an anecdotal story of what happens here in Peel on a day-to-day basis. Far too many people suffer in silence by those that are harming our community. And the time for change is obviously right before us now. So these proposed reforms are absolutely what we need. The tireless work of our officers on a day-to-day basis can't go in vain. And so these changes will definitely strengthen our ability to keep violent offenders in custody. But it also puts the focus back on the victims, those that are being harmed in our community. Our communities do deserve a system that is better for them, that keeps dangerous offenders behind bars where they belong.
Just 2 months ago, our government received a strong mandate from the people of Ontario to make sure that we protect Ontario. It's a mandate to protect our workers and businesses from tariffs and economic uncertainty. But it's also a mandate to protect our communities and make our streets safe. Because right now, the federal government's broken bail system is letting far too many criminals back onto the streets just days or even hours right after being arrested. Enough is enough. At the provincial level, we are doing everything in our power to strengthen bail and keep criminals off the streets. We launched new bail teams made up of special prosecutors just over a year ago, and they're already producing real results. These teams have been involved in more than 3,000 cases, helping keep people accused of serious crimes behind bars and helping resolve these cases faster than ever before. That's why today we're making them permanent with dedicated, intensive, serious, violent crime bail teams across Ontario. We're also improving and increasing the collection of forfeited bail money from people who breach their bail conditions and their sureties, and launching a comprehensive overview of the bail system to ensure it is effective. And we're working to establish a new user fee system for people who are ordered by a court to wear ankle monitors so that they are paying for their own devices instead of the taxpayers. And our intention is for the proceeds to cover the cost of the ankle monitoring program and support victims of crime. My friends, we're doing whatever it takes to make our streets, our homes, and our communities safe again, but we cannot do it alone. That's why, once again, I'm calling on the federal government to pull its weight and keep our streets safe. With a newly elected federal government now in place, we are counting on them to bring in stronger penalties and more restrictive conditions for bail so violent repeat offenders stay behind bars and off our streets. We're stepping up, we're cracking down on criminals, and we're standing with law-abiding people of Ontario.
This is Nitin Chopra from Prime Asia.
Hi.
Premier, the government data suggests that there is 200 plus deaths per day by the use of illegal substances, including opium, fentanyl, opioid here in Ontario. That data is on the government website. So for last year's, whatever government step has taken to reduce this, because we have seen lot of shootouts, lot of parents, they lost their kids inside the home shootings. What are the steps government has taken into stopping these fentanyl, and it is selling openly here in the market?
Yeah, well, one big problem is something called safe supply under the federal government. There's been many stories in the media about this, that drug users will go in, get their supply of whatever, free supply, and then go out and sell it back on the streets. This is the most crazy program I've ever heard in my life. It's like giving an alcoholic a free pass to the LCBO. No, these people need help, and that's why we have heart hubs that we're putting right across the entire province, spending over $550 million to help people get off drugs, get back on their feet, find a job, find a place to live. And we want to arrest the people, these drug dealers, and keep them in jail. But guess what happens? They go to court, and the judges slap them on the wrist, let them out the next day just to go back and do the exact same thing. You know, we're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at fighting crime. We need the federal government to do the same thing. We need mandatory sentencing, that if someone commits a heinous crime, I'm not talking about stealing a chocolate bar, I'm talking about drugs and heinous crimes, they need to stay in jail.
Premier, another concern, the residents, because we are the media, we bring that concern in front of you. In your first term, you mentioned to fix the landlord-tenant board. And the second term also, we hear the same concern from the residents. Landlord says they don't have any rights. Because if case goes to the LTP and it comes in the favor of a victim, then victim has to go to the small courts to follow that case. So they are into the court system for approximately 18, 16 months or 24 months. Then also they don't get a justice. The landlords, they don't get their money, what they lost in the unpaid rents. How to fix that system? And we have Attorney General also here. We would like to hear from them also. Is that hard to fix the LTB system here in Ontario? Thank you.
Well, before I pass it to the Attorney General, you know, we have some of the, well, we do have the toughest tenant laws in the entire country, bar none. But the pendulum has swung the other way now. People are taking advantage, and I'm not talking about the big landlords that own 2,000 units or whatever. I'm talking about the mom and pops that have saved everything throughout their lives to have another income property. And these people are going in and just totally taking advantage of them. I heard a story yesterday, and this is staggering. A 96-year-old woman had tenants downstairs. They had a flooding problem. So what she said is, I'm going to move in with one of my kids until we get this fixed. Well, it took a couple months, 2 or 3 months, and the tenants moved upstairs and everything's hunky-dory. This poor lady goes back and they locked her out of her own home. They got it fixed, but you got to be kidding me. These are the problems that we're seeing over and over again. The abuse that some tenants taking advantage, little mom and pop folks that are just trying to make a living. They've had to take other mortgages out on their property. You know, we're fixing it, but I'm going to hand it over to the Attorney General. And we have to make changes, and we need to make them immediately. And I know the Attorney General is working on it as we speak.
Good to see you, Nitin. You know, the Landlord-Tenant Board, we've doubled the number of full-time adjudicators. We had a backlog through COVID. That's down significantly. The traditional number of hearings per year is about 80,000, 85,000. Last year it was 100,000. The non-payment of rent is normally about 80% of the caseload. It's now 50%, so the rest are more complicated. But all of that said, we hear the frustration. The Premier has been very clear. I am told, fix this thing, get it back to where we will encourage people to rent out their units where they are currently not renting because they're not satisfied with the system. So we hear the frustration. I believe I have a mandate to fix it. We are back on the job. The police are working hard to investigate and arrest those who break our laws, but more must be done to keep violent, repeat offenders off our streets. Earlier this week, we announced changes to strengthen our courts and increase resources for prosecution. And yesterday, we outlined new measures to fight auto theft by cracking down on car thieves. Our government is taking a strong approach to protect Ontario communities by ensuring our courts and law enforcement have the tools they need.
You know, I'm just, there's so many great judges, first of all, and there's great JPs. I'm a strong believer in our judicial system, but it's out of control now. Like you see these criminals getting out on bail not once or twice, 4 or 5 times, and going out and committing heinous crimes. There's a story that someone was out on bail 5 times and went and killed a young lady. You know, this is absolutely ridiculous how these judges keep letting people out over and over and over again. I'm just done with it. We're going to hire tough on crime judges, tough on crime JPs to make sure that they follow the law and keep these people in jail because they're just being released. You could go in and kick in a door, put a gun to someone's head with kids in the house, terrorize that house, and guess what? By the time they get arrested and get out, it's the next day. And then they start mocking our police in the back of the police car. Don't worry, I'll be out by the time you start your shift. And what happens? They're out before they get, before they come back on duty. The system is broken, and there's a lot of terrible, terrible bleeding heart judges out there. You know something? If it happened to them, they might take a different look at it. And that's not a knock against all the judges, because there's good, qualified judges. We have great chief justices. Matter of fact, probably the best in the country. But the system's broken. And once these judges get into their position, they have this sense of entitlement. That's what drives me crazy. We were democratically elected as a government. And I always say, the legislature is supreme, meaning the people are supreme. When you get a mandate to do something, you can't have judges constantly overruling the government. Or I have an idea. And then again, I'm going to emphasize, not all the judges. I've said it 3 times. But why don't we have the next election, the PC party, the Liberal Party, the NDP party, the Green Party, and the Judges Party, because they overturn everything, right down to the bike lanes. So, we get democratically elected, and some judge slaps an injunction on bike lanes. Don't the judges have anything better to do than worry about if we're taking out bike lanes or not taking out bike lanes? One judge says, yeah, for judges keeping people in jail that commit crimes. I'm for judges that don't give bail 4, 5, 6 times for a guy to get out and murder someone. An innocent girl gets murdered over people out on bail and being their doors kicked in. It's unheard of. We always talk about the crime in the U.S. Criminal code and justice system falls under the federal government, but someone has to be held accountable. I use the word sense of entitlement. That's how I feel. And again, I feel bad saying it because there's fabulous judges out there, fabulous JPs, but like any group, there's some bad apples that just believe in we shouldn't throw anyone in jail. Let them run wild. You know something? That's a joke as far as I'm concerned, and let me tell you the reason why. There's no judge appointed anywhere in this country, anywhere in the United States, anywhere in the world that's not a political appointment. Simple as that. You think these judges just come out of the blue? You think the appointments from the federal government? Do you think that the Liberal government for the last 10 years is going to appoint a tough on crime, conservative-minded judge? Not a chance. Not a chance. They have this little group over the last number of years that, oh my goodness, not part of our group, then everyone else is a bad person. Let me be very clear to the people that elected us. We're going to be tough on crime. We're going to hire tough on crime judges and JPs, and they need to do their job. Simple as that. But every judge in this country has been politically appointed since before Moses. Maybe Moses was even politically appointed. I don't know. But I'll guarantee you one thing. We're going to be tough on crime. Simple as this. I made 12 other phone calls to all the premiers. Every single one of them said, we're in. It didn't matter what political stripe. And we have all 3 political colors as premiers. But they all agree in one thing. Let's stop the crime. And this falls this falls on the lap of the federal government. They do the criminal code. I have an idea. The federal government, let us do the criminal code. And I'll guarantee you, tomorrow, once we have a criminal code, then bang, this will stop immediately. And we'll be building more jails. We're already building jails, but we'll be building more jails because these guys are going to be in jail. And they're going to think twice about going and robbing someone when they know the sentence is going to be 5 to 10 years in maximum security prison.
The question is, what sort of criteria are we looking for? We're looking for people who understand community, who understand what's going on in the community, who understand the frustration that individuals in the community are feeling when they're on the victimization side. We are hearing from people, as politicians, we hear from people who are afraid in their own driveways. And that is not acceptable. We need judges who will take the law, apply the law, understand where community sentiment is at. I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. So when I review judicial applications, when they come out of the independent committee that recommends, if they don't recommend them, I don't know who they are. They never come to me. But if they're recommended and I look at the application and I review, I'm looking for somebody who is going to enforce community standards. I'm looking for somebody who understands community and somebody who will, quite frankly, help protect our communities. And that can come in a number of different ways. It can come from previous life experience. It can come from different backgrounds. I'm really proud of the judicial appointments that we've made to date. But we have more work to do, and I hope to be able to talk.
Didn't interfere in the federal election. Last time I checked, Pierre Poilievre never came out in our election. Matter of fact, him or one of his lieutenants told every one of his members, "Don't you dare go out and help the PCs." Isn't that ironic? But anyways, I'm not going to dig deep into this. The people spoke. And I have no say in who people vote for. But I'll tell you one thing. We have a government, democratically elected. I will hold them accountable. I'll hold them accountable like I would, no matter if it's a conservative government or a liberal government. My interest is protecting the people of Ontario. And I will be all over this government. They know I will be, as I was before, about being tough on crime.